talking about 9 negative traits disguised as good qualities. This is good today, man. We're going to be talking about some serious stuff. You're going to learn a lot today. Because some of us been miseducated. And what miseducation means is you just been taught the wrong thing. So we trying to unlearn some of that miseducation that we grew up with. Word of the day is character trait. Character trait is words that describe a person's personality or qualities that make them who they are. In other words, how would you describe a person to someone else? You're going to describe their character traits. Character trait is they're a nice person. They're kind-hearted. They got anger issues. Oh man, they're always depressed. They got low self-esteem. Those are character traits. That's what we're talking about. Saying of the day. A lot of people say, I love hard. You ever heard anybody out here love hard? A lot of people say I love hard instead of saying I'm codependent. Instead of saying I lack boundaries. Instead of saying I've become borderline obsessed because of my anxious attachment style and fear of abandonment. A lot of people say I love hard instead of saying I'm codependent. Instead of saying I lack boundaries. Instead of saying I love hard. Instead of saying I become borderline obsessed because of my anxious attachment style and fear of abandonment. But yeah, I love hard sounds better. That's part of the miseducation that I'm talking about. This talk is for educational purposes only. It's not a substitute for professional advice, treatment, guidance, or diagnosis. If you're someone you know is experiencing a mental health crisis, substance use and abuse, or suicidal thoughts, dial 988. 988 is available 24/7 nationwide and staffed by trained crisis counselors who are just a text or a call away. 9 negative traits disguised as good qualities. When it comes to character traits, people often say and do things that seem fine at first, but upon further examination, these things really aren't so great. And while I'm not going to try to convince you that you should view yourself or anyone else in a negative light, but I do want to help you recognize when a seemingly positive trait is actually just a disguise for a negative one. To understand why it's important to identify negative character traits disguised as good qualities, let's discuss how the phenomenon impacts your relationships, both personal and professional. So, 9 negative traits disguised as good qualities. Number 1, being insensitive and tactless can be disguised as honesty. Being insensitive to other people and being tactless can be disguised as honesty. What I mean by tactless is that you got to show some tact sometimes when you're in situations. What? You gotta show tact. You might not be getting along with a supervisor at work, but you have to be tactful in that situation and be appropriate in that situation. That's what we're talking about. Even if you're in the right, honesty is an important part of communication, but it's not always the best policy to tell people exactly what you're thinking. Honesty is an important part of communication, but it's not always the best policy to tell people exactly what you're thinking. That's because your honesty can also come off as rude, if not appropriate for the situation. Your opinion. It's easy to say things without considering how they will affect the other person, but if you don't have tact or have a tendency to be insensitive, you'll likely end up saying something that will hurt someone's feelings or make them feel really uncomfortable. Being able to recognize this trait in yourself is important because it means that you can work harder at being more sensitive toward other people's feelings and being more thoughtful about how your words affect other people. Being insensitive does not mean that you are honest. It just means you don't have tact. Because something is true don't mean you have to say it. Particularly if it doesn't help the situation. Okay, so you got a friend and he don't mind putting these on his girl. Okay? So you see her out talking to somebody, or you see her out and some dude up in her face. Are you going to go back and tell that man, did you just seen her doing that? Nope. That wouldn't make sense at all. It's not going to help the situation. It ain't going to help your friend. It ain't going to help the lady. Here we go. 9 negative traits disguised as good qualities. Number 2, controlling can be disguised as being organized and detail-oriented. You think you are organized. You think you are detail-oriented when really all you are is a controlling person who wants to control everything. Being organized and detail-oriented are often seen as great qualities to have, but they can also be a sign of something less positive. If you're always the one who takes on the task of organizing and planning events or projects, it's possible that you have a hard time trusting others to do things the way you think is best. You like to micromanage and control everything around you down to the smallest detail, and you get extremely frustrated when other people don't seem to care about getting every single thing right. If you're the type of person who wants everything their way instead of being so controlling, try letting go a bit and trusting others. And trusting that others will get the job done. You might find that you're more capable than you think you might find that they are more capable than you think they are. 9 negative traits disguised as good qualities. Number 3, laziness can be disguised as patience. I'm just being patient. Nah, you might be lazy. Yeah, you waiting on something to arrive. See, but the thing is, because I was talking to somebody the other day saying, yeah, man, once this lawsuit come in, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. But we want to know something? Life don't start when the lawsuit money come in. Life start right now. And if you go on to work every day, and you ain't paying rent, you ain't paying bills, and you still ain't got no money saved up, when that lawsuit money comes, you're going to blow right through it. Because life don't start when the money hit the bank. The life starts right now. Laziness can be disguised as patience. The difference between these two qualities can be difficult to recognize, but it's important to do so if you want to avoid letting laziness get in the way of your success. Or you waiting on somebody to do for you what you're supposed to do for yourself. You patient. That's what you think you are. Patiently lazy. Laziness can be disguised as patience. Oh man, I'm gonna ruffle some feathers today. Y'all need it. The difference between these two qualities can be difficult to recognize, but it's important to do so if you want to avoid letting laziness get in the way of your success. Patience means having the ability. Let me tell you what patience is, so you don't get it mixed up no more, okay? Patience means having the ability to wait for something you desire without acting out of frustration or anger. If I'm being patient, that means I'm not angry, I'm not frustrated, and I'm not tripping. The difference between these two qualities, I'm going to stay on this for a minute because this is important. I wanted to sink in. Yeah, this is what we're doing. The difference between these two qualities can be difficult to recognize, but it's important to do so if you want to avoid letting laziness get in the way of your success. Patient means having the ability to wait for something you desire without acting out of frustration or anger or being jealous of somebody else when they shit come in. Laziness, on the other hand, means that you don't want to do something that will take effort. Laziness means you don't want to do nothing that means you got to use some damn effort. Laziness, on the other hand, means that you don't want to do something that will take effort or time on your part. If you're lazy, you might be able to trick people into actually thinking you're a patient person by making excuses for why you don't want to do something, like telling them you just don't want to rush things or that you need to wait for the right opportunity. What the hell are you waiting on? Somebody to sprinkle some pixie dust over your damn head and you float away like, what's his name, Peter Pan? When it comes down to it, if you're lazy, then you'll just end up waiting for something to happen because it's not like you'll ever do anything about it. So if you're truly a lazy person, you're going to spend your life waiting for stuff to happen. And while you're waiting, you losing ground and you losing time because you ain't no spring chicken and you ain't getting younger. 9 negative traits disguised as good qualities. Number 4, vanity can be disguised as self-confidence. You want to know what the Bible says about vanity? It says God hates a proud look. Did y'all know that? The Bible says God hates a proud look. Vanity can be disguised as self-confidence. Many people are vain, but they don't always know it. Many people are vain, but they don't always know it. This is because vanity is often disguised as self-confidence. And when you're feeling good about yourself, it can be hard to see past the disguise. But if you look close, you'll see that vanity has some telltale signs that can help you recognize it. This is how you recognize vanity. This is how you recognize it. People who are vain make it a point to always dress well and look good. Now, we see that as a good quality, am I right? Yeah. All right, we disguising a negative quality with good qualities. Come on, here we go. People who are vain make it a point to always dress well and look good. They spend hours in front of the mirror and are overly concerned with their appearance. They typically have a lot of selfies on their phones, and they're the ones who tend to get beauty treatments and plastic surgeries. While there is nothing wrong with caring about how you look, this can be very unattractive and off-putting if taken to extremes. 9 negative traits disguised as good qualities. Number 5, being demanding can be disguised as having high standards. Placing your demands on other people. Well, I just got my high standards. You're going to be my friend. You got to have this, this, and that. If I'm going to date you, you got to be this, this, and that. And there ain't nothing wrong with having high standards, but it's a flip side to that coin. Come on. While having high standards may not seem like a bad thing, you have to be careful with this one. If you're demanding, you might think that you're just holding yourself to higher standards than other people. And you likely believe that your demands are reasonable and justified. But the truth is that being demanding is usually not very helpful for anyone involved. If you're constantly pushing others to meet your standards or expecting things from them that they don't have the ability or resources to do, your demands will only create stress and tension. It's always better to allow people around you room enough to be human and not expect so much from them at all. 9 negative traits disguised as good qualities. Bottling up feelings can be seen as emotional strength. We know that's not true. Bottling up your emotions, because I'm not going to cry. I'm just not going to cry. And we talked about that yesterday. I was like, yeah, we men, a lot of times we take on the emotions of women sometimes, and you be running around here crying. And I wasn't saying that to say that if you feel like crying, not to do it. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying bottle up your feelings. What I'm saying is don't let emotions control you. You got to stay in control of them. Not saying that you bottle them up. Yeah, you experience them. But you ain't going to let some anger, you're going to figure out why you're angry. You're going to figure out why you're depressed. You're going to figure out why you're sentimental, because once you get to the root of it, you can deal with it. Bottling up feelings can be seen as emotional strength. When you're bottling up your feelings, you might feel like you're being strong by not letting people know what's on your mind. But actually, that's a sign of weakness. It means that you're hiding from the truth, and it prevents you from being able to work through them in a healthy way. Bottling up feelings can create more stress than just letting them out in the open. It can lead to feelings of guilt or shame if you don't know how to express yourself properly. It also creates unnecessary resentment towards those around you because you feel like they're not helping, but they don't know what the hell is going on with you because they can't read your mind. So emotional strength doesn't mean bottling up your feelings. It means being able to express yourself effectively so that others know where you stand with them. 9 negative traits disguised as good qualities. Number 7, being judgmental can be disguised as having good values. Here we go. Of course, having good values is a great thing. It means that you care about the world and you want to make it a better place. The problem starts when you begin to judge other people for things that aren't really worth judging in the first place. When you allow yourself to be judgmental, you are often acting on your own biases and not trusting the other person's ability to make their own decisions. If you're judging someone for having a different opinion, for making certain choices, then you are inherently putting yourself above that person. You are saying that your way is the right way and theirs is wrong. Instead of assuming that someone is making bad choices in life, be thinking about what that person may be going through and how your words and your actions can help them through it. Instead of judging somebody, help them. Instead of criticizing somebody, help that person. 9 negative traits disguised as good qualities. Number 8, being unstable can be disguised as being spontaneous. They don't have a job. They say, I'm just going to go fishing today. Bro, you should be going for a job interview. They got a lot of time on their hands. They just, you know what? I'm going to just do this today. There's no planning. And in some ways, that could be a good thing, though. But to live a lifestyle like that, oh, that's not good. Here we go. Spontaneity can be a good thing. When you're spontaneous, it means you're not being held back by a strict schedule or the need to plan ahead. You are flexible and don't have the need to plan ahead in order to be prepared for the possibility of something that could happen. Sometimes being spontaneous can be a sign of instability, which is not a good thing. If you're constantly changing your mind or making decisions based on your mood instead of logic, that's a red flag. Because if you're tired of your job and you just happen to go into your job one day and they do something to piss you off, I quit. You're being spontaneous and you're not being logical. Because you don't never quit a job, even a job that you don't like that pays you money to go to nothing. You got a job that pays you money and you don't get along with the people that you work with. Before you quit that job, get another job lined up so you can slide right into another job. Because if you don't, you're just going to be broke after that. Spontaneity can be a good thing. When you're spontaneous, it means you're not being held back by a strict schedule or the need to plan ahead. You are flexible and don't have the need to plan ahead in order to be prepared for the possibility of something that could happen. Sometimes being spontaneous can be a sign of instability, which is not a good thing. If you're constantly changing your mind or making decisions based on your mood instead of logic, that's a red flag. You may be a lot more impulsive than you realize, which could lead to trouble in your relationships and career. Spontaneity is good for keeping things interesting, but being unstable can lead to serious problems down the road. An ability to let go can be disguised as loving hard. These are the people who be like, you can't love hard in this generation because they don't appreciate it and they use you. Now, it's a whole lot of people appreciate good people. Yeah, you just choosing the wrong ones. And you probably got a toxic attachment style. And you probably have anxiety, you lack boundaries, and you probably codependent. The inability to let go can be disguised as loving hard. Sentimentality is thought of as having a strong sense of loyalty and commitment to the things you've held dear in the past, and this can be seen as a good thing. But sometimes being sentimental can be a disguise for holding on to things from your past that you should have let go of long ago, whether it's people, places, or things. When you're stuck in a loop of nostalgia, you're unable to adapt to new situations or circumstances because you don't have the capacity, which could cause you to miss opportunities for growth or advancement. It's okay to miss what you've lost, but you shouldn't let those memories continue to hold you back from creating new ones. Positive qualities and negative character traits can sometimes be difficult to tell apart since they tend to have the same behavior. So 9 negative traits disguised as good qualities. Number 1, being insensitive and tactless can be disguised as honesty. Number 2, controlling can be disguised as being organized and detail oriented. Number 3, laziness can be disguised as patience. Number 4, vanity can be disguised as self-confidence. Number 5, being demanding can be disguised as having high standards. Number 6, bottling up feelings can be seen as emotional strength. Number 7, being judgmental can be disguised as having good values. Number 8, being unstable can be disguised as being spontaneous. And the final one, number 9, the ability to let go can be disguised as loving hard. Question, concern, or comments?
Yeah, that lazy one, I think that's something I've been dealing with in the past. And from time to time, when you think it's just buying the time or waiting to the right opportunity. In fact, you could just be sitting there not doing what you're supposed to be doing.